The rabbi blows the shofar for the first time at this gravesite just outside of Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. This ancient musical horn is mainly used for Jewish religious ceremonies, usually during the high holidays. Some 15 years ago, this gravesite was uncovered in a forest in Boyarka. One of the Jewish community leaders tells us about her father's recollections of the site. He told me that his family was not harmed because they managed to hide. Others helped them hide. Other people's houses were nearly destroyed. There were corpses. He says, I was little, but the story that Dad told us made an impact on us. 94-year-old Georgy Horhovsky tells us that local residents take care of the site. At first, they mistakenly thought that the Jewish settlement was destroyed by nationalists.
We've always looked after it. We used to keep it tidy. There was a rumor that Simon Petlura's man was responsible.
It was difficult for local historians to assess what had happened. In many cases, for example, it was obvious that if we take into account the type of burial, it is typical of Jewish monuments of the 20th century. This suggests that it dates back to a time before the Second World War, but again, we needed documents and historical evidence. Hundreds of archived documents and eyewitness accounts helped historians find those who staged the killing of Jewish families in the settlement just outside of Kyiv. Dozens of Jews were killed by Russian soldiers some 99 years ago.
The Ukrainian army was forced to retreat from Kyiv to the west. On the 3rd of September, Boyarka was occupied by the army of Denikin and Nikolai Bredov. In fact, right from the start of the occupation, they began pogroms of villages. Then, according to the Russian ideology of the time, the Jews were to blame for the 1917 revolution and the death of the royal family. Since the Soviet ideology could not recognize that Russians were capable of anything bad, they managed to make it so that the pogrom was forgotten.
All of the documents were submitted to the Israeli embassy. In turn, the Israeli authorities helped restore the gravesite as well as to collect evidence.
Who was the army of Denikin? They were Russians and they were responsible for the genocide against Jews. These were real atrocities. They didn't spare the children and the elderly. One elderly Jew was forced to hang himself on a lamppost. Now we have the opportunity to correct this historical error. Historical justice must triumph.
The historians managed to establish that 60 Jews were buried in this mass grave in the forest. Their names were found in the surviving archives. However, the number of people shot in 1919 may be a lot more, since at the time of the pogrom in the village of Budaivka lived more than 300 Jewish families. Historians believe that the information will be confirmed by excavations of the mass grave. However, for now, there's no need for this, since historians believe that there's plenty of evidence.